Hello, my lovelies. And do you know who I'm talking about? You. There's only a few of you that watch me, but I appreciate that you've reached out to me, different ones, and let me know that these videos are helpful. That gives me the courage to go on and make more and not feel like I'm just talking into a camera for no reason. Because that's why I'm making them, is hopefully that somebody will find them to be helpful. So I appreciate all your likes, and any new subscribers would be great. So today, by request, we're going to talk about anxiety. And I could make so many videos on anxiety. I feel like I'm an expert on it because I suffer from it. I've dealt with it most of my life. And anxiety is, or depression, or anything you might suffer, what's really going on is your body chemistry is off. And how does your body chemistry go off? Well, some of it can be genetically, like you have the genetics that would tend to make you more anxious or more depressed. And some of it could be what we are allowing in our life, what we're thinking about, what we're feeling, what we're physically doing. It could be, which I can make a whole nother video on this, how in our childhood something had made us anxious and kind of brace for things. So we're kind of always looking for the next thing to go wrong. But regardless of however it began, there's ways to cope. And there are ways to manage anxiety where it doesn't have a grip on you or what you're able to do or on your life or on your day. But the key is that you need to be aware. You need to be aware of, what am I feeling physically? Meaning, an anxious person could be clenching up, their hands could be sweaty, could be shaking, could be you pace when you feel anxious. So what am I feeling when I'm anxious? Physically, how do I feel? What am I thinking when I'm anxious? Am I thinking negative thoughts? Am I worried about the future? Am I worried about things that I don't maybe have control over? Anxiety is very control-based state of mind. And it's not a controlled-based state of mind like, well, I want to control you. There's usually something you can pinpoint if you want to reflect in your life that you felt out of control. So by wanting to know how things are going to turn out, what's it going to be like, that is why we tend to feel anxiety, is because we want to know that everything's going to be okay. And guess what? That ain't going to happen. Always. Well, it can happen when you decide to know that everything's going to be okay. And it is going to be okay. Does that mean there's not going to be rough times in life? Yes, there will be rough times in life. So the secret is learning how to be aware when you're suffering anxiety, what's going on with me physically. And these three things, I'm going to keep pounding them in your head in all the videos, no matter what we're discussing, because they all trigger each other. What am I feeling physically? So with anxiety, that again, am I clenching my jaw? Do I have a knot in my stomach? Are my hands sweaty? What am I? So that's number one, physical. Number two, what are my thoughts doing? Am I controlling my mind, or is my mind controlling me? Is it racing with scary thoughts? Is it racing with what bad could happen? So your thoughts, your physical feelings, and then your emotional feelings. What am I feeling emotionally? Am I scared? Am I angry? Am I feeling out of control? Am I feeling hopeless? So because they all trigger each other in your body chemistry. And if a few videos back, I talked a little bit about body chemistry. I'm going to have to make another whole video on body chemistry. But basically, that's what's happening. We're just an electrical chemical messaging system besides our soul. So when we're in a state of anxiety, what we're feeling physically, what we're thinking, and what we're feeling emotionally triggers these chemicals in our body. Norepinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol. And what happens is, as we start to feel anxiety, we start creating more of those chemicals, which is like a fight, flight, or flee syndrome. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and I'll just explain that in another video too. But it basically, like, it's just pumping you up. And at some point in your life, that might have served you when you were anxious, if you needed to run or get away from something that was bad. But what happened is it wired your brain wired up so that when things happen that make you feel uncomfortable or you don't have control of, your chemicals just start turning. So how do we change that? How do we change? Because once we start getting more cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and all the other chemicals going through our body that's causing us to be anxious, which is then will cause the symptoms of anxiety, which can eventually turn into like a panic attack. I know some of you have seen this before, but let's say this is your highest point of anxiety. For some of us, that would be a panic attack. For others, it could just be a highly anxious state. So we need to literally, I would suggest writing this out for yourself, because for some of us, some of the symptoms will be the same, but everybody will have different symptoms. So you have to be aware. You almost have to write it down and think about it. So we know, like, when we're having a panic attack, we probably are feeling shaky. We could probably say it begins with maybe our mind racing. Hard to breathe, maybe up here at the top. So I kind of want you to put them chronologically. What are my symptoms? I don't even know if you guys can read this because it's upside down, but hopefully you get, not upside down, but backwards. But hopefully you get the idea. And what I really want you to focus on, once you start paying attention to yourself, am I pacing? What am I doing when I'm anxious? Because whatever you're doing with anxiety, once those chemicals start flooding you, it's telling you there's an emergency. And if we don't try to stop that or turn it around or change our body chemistry, what happens is it just gets worse and worse and worse until we're having a straight up panic attack, feeling like we need to go to the hospital. So we need to be aware of these very early symptoms. And that's hard because for a lot of us, those are resting symptoms, meaning that happens all the time. So we're not really aware that that is produced by anxiety. And so for me, my earliest symptom, which is almost always because I'm genetically predispositioned, I'm having a hard time talking tonight, to have anxiety, would be my hands sweaty. Then maybe clenching. So I'm always scanning myself. What am I feeling? Am I clenching? If I'm clenching, unclench. If I'm talking too fast, which is another sign of anxiety a little bit for me, you'll see on some of these videos I talk faster than others. Talk slower. One of the biggest things you can do to change your body chemistry almost immediately is breathe correctly. And this is the one thing that I think has been the most helpful to anybody that I've ever worked with anxiety, is just for them to be aware how they're breathing. Because if you're breathing very shallow, say from your chest or your neck, those type of breaths will create more of the body chemistry that supports all the chemicals for anxiety. To counteract that is the deep stomach breath, which I tell people to put your hand on your stomach to practice it, because somewhere about age 7, we forget how to breathe. And everybody that I've ever dealt with that's had anxiety, I would tell them, you're probably holding your breath. And I said, it's not a conscious thing. It's not like you're going around holding your breath, but you're just kind of like this. I'm talking now and I'm not really breathing. And if you're holding your breath or you're breathing shallow, that alone will make a huge difference in your body chemistry. So you want to stop immediately when you see these early symptoms come on. And you want to do a nice controlled breath. And when I first started doing those, when I was in my early 20s, which was a long time ago, it was kind of hard for me to do a smooth breath because I think I had so much anxiety that it would tend to be jittery. So it took practice. So you want to be aware how to change your body chemistry is to be aware of the same 3 things. What am I doing physically? Am I breathing? Did I eat? Because if you're not eating every 3 hours, your blood sugar's spiking, which changes up your body chemistry, which makes you, it has the similar symptoms to anxiety, so it's going to trigger you to say, oh, I'm feeling anxious. If you're not hydrated, if you're not getting enough sleep. My dogs are sleeping. I always say something about if you guys can hear them, and then when I play the video back, you can't, but if you hear weird noises in the background, they're listening to me. And they just did a nice stomach breath. So if I'm not helping any of you guys, maybe they're getting a little help from this. So here I am rambling as usual, but physical, your breath. Did I eat? Am I hydrated? Are you resting? Take a nap if you need to. I know sometimes when my anxiety gets bad, I just need to kind of lay down and say, okay, I'm going to, take control of this and do some deep breathing. What is your body language doing? Are you clenching? Are you pacing? If you are, stop it. I mean, in the beginning too, when I was learning how to manage my anxiety, and it's a practice. It's not something that happens overnight. I can give you this knowledge in this video, but then you have to actively practice it. But the good thing is if you do actively practice it, just like I talked about the wiring of the brain in a past video, you start changing your wiring. So, for instance, or for example, back in the day when I wasn't even really aware of my anxiety and it was taking me over most of the time, I wouldn't be aware of what was going on and I would just get myself worked up into a panic attack. Now, because I've practiced it on a regular basis to change my body chemistry when I feel those early symptoms come on, which could be your mind racing. It could be you notice you're pacing or you're talking a little faster. Not the higher symptoms where you're feeling like you're going to pass out or you have a stomach ache and you're going to puke. By then you're almost in too deep. But know that wherever you're at, even if you're practicing and you aren't able to change your body chemistry, anxiety will pass. It doesn't stay. It's almost impossible to stay. So back to the thought I was telling you a second ago. When I first started paying attention, being aware of what am I thinking, what am I doing physically, what am I feeling, so I could change up my body chemistry to not be as anxious and be able to go about my life as I wanted to, I literally would sit on my hands because I was all over the place. I wasn't able to. Now, I don't think I sit on my hands anymore. Maybe if I'm, doing something that it's really causes a lot of anxiety. But so you will rewire your brain. So when you start to have those little symptoms, you'll be like, this is anxiety. Okay, let me breathe. Did I eat? So those are some physical things. Now, the other thing is thinking. What am I thinking? because that's going to trigger everything too. What you're feeling emotionally, what you're feeling physically. If you're thinking you're afraid of something, you're automatically going to get a little shakier. You're going to probably start showing your physical symptoms of anxiety, which then are going to be tied into your emotional symptoms. So you have to be aware of, what am I thinking? And the first thing I would tell myself if I would have anxious thoughts that I felt like I couldn't control would be, okay, is this thought serving me? No, most of the time not. I mean, for a second maybe to assess it. I'm trying to think of an example, a very general example. Maybe, for me, a lot of my anxiety is in the car. So if I start thinking, oh my God, what's this? And I start noticing myself get anxious about what other people are going to do. I'm not scared of my driving. I'm scared of everybody else's driving. And I know I got to drive. So is that serving me to let my anxiety build up to that level? No, because I'm not going to react as calmly and as confidently if I'm all full of anxiety. So I immediately start doing things to lower my anxiety, which maybe would be turn the music on, make sure I'm doing my deep breathing. What am I thinking? Is this thought serving me, whether this car's going to run into me or not? No, it's not. So back off a little bit and just calm down and go. So be very aware of what your thoughts are. Are they serving you? I mean, sometimes we have to think about something that's frightening or that could happen. But to dwell on it, to let it drive us up into an anxious mess, that is not serving us at all. You assess it and you say, can I control it? Is there anything I can do about it? Write down what you can do about it, do what you can do, and then let it go. Let it go to the universe. I find most of the time when I'm suffering from more anxiety, it's when I'm trying to control everything. And when I'm trying to control everything is usually when things don't go as great. It's when I can let go of having to have that relationship work out perfectly. Let go of, why wasn't that job the one for me? Let go of whatever it is you're trying to change in your life. Just maybe put the thought out there that you would like to change it and go in a different direction, and be aware of positive things that come, but not control it with the mind. Get up, do what you can do, and then let it go. So then the third component is feeling emotionally. What am I emotionally feeling? Well, usually when we're anxious, we're feeling not so good, scared. For some people, it could be angry, out of control. So what do you do with that? Well, you have to learn to be like your own nurturer, your own mother, your own father. Because even though some of us were blessed with good parents that could be there, but even those that do have good parents, they can't always be there for you. They might not physically be there for you, or a good support system, or they might not emotionally be able to be there because they're dealing with their own crap, whether it be your friends or your parents. So learning to nurture yourself, being your own mother, your own father, your own mother, being kind, being sweet to yourself, saying, you're doing the best you can and it's going to work out. Telling yourself those things to just feel softer. Maybe being your own father would be at times when it's like, okay, put on your big girl pants, big boy pants. Time to just do this. Do whatever it is you need to do that you're afraid of. It could just to change your feelings emotionally, maybe just going for a walk. I know for me, I can change my feelings up pretty quick just by going outside and looking up at the sky or looking at a tree. You have to know that you are capable of keeping yourself safe. Because that's part of what anxiety is that we don't feel safe. And it was hard when we were children. Some of us were in situations where, we weren't safe. And maybe we weren't able to keep ourselves safe. Whether it was emotionally or physically. But as an adult, for the most part, we have a lot more control over that. Yes, can we go out and get ran over by a car or something bad happen? Sure. But what good is it for us to sit there and focus on that all day long? I think we would maybe just create it if we thought about it too much. So this is a practice to be aware of what are you doing physically, meaning what's your body doing, what are you thinking, what are your thoughts doing, and what am I feeling? What am I actually really feeling inside? Because sometimes you might be angry, but really you're just hurt or scared. And then working to change those things into a better chemistry that will reduce those chemicals that cause anxiety and increase the chemicals like dopamine and serotonin that give you a sense of well-being. And I've been there. I mean, my life's been a shit show. And I've been in the exact same position and been panic attack, freaking out, thinking I need to go to the hospital, and then in the exact same position again, cool, calm, collective, and under control. It's just all about how you manage it. And you know what? If you don't manage it perfectly every time, don't beat yourself up, because then you got to go into, what am I thinking? Is this serving me? Is this serving me to beat myself up because I had a little breakdown today? It's okay. It's okay. You know, what are you learning from your experience? That's always, when things don't seem like they're going right or in the right direction, there's usually something to learn. When there's resistance, there's something to learn. What am I learning from this situation? What, in the end, am I going to learn about my soul and how to take care of myself, therefore to be able to be there to help take care of others? Okay, let me try to cap this all up, because I know I ramble. But to manage your anxiety in a healthy way, you need to be aware of, what am I thinking? What am I feeling physically? What am I feeling emotionally? And scanning yourself for that, I try to do it all day, here and there, especially when I notice symptoms coming on. And then replace them with things to change your body chemistry. Breathe. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you eat. For me, taking a bath is huge. Find what you like. For some people, it might be taking a run, going for a walk, calling a friend, watching YouTube videos. That's how this got me. How I got started doing this is I would watch people that were uplifting, or watch something funny. Because if you turn on a funny show or a funny YouTube video and you're laughing, you're not, that is producing different chemicals in you almost immediately. Okay, physical, thoughts, and feeling. Nurturing yourself, fathering yourself, knowing that you can keep yourself safe. Trusting that, learning to trust yourself. And know, no matter what, that it'll pass. So, okay, I could make 10 videos at least on anxiety, and I will make more. So this is just a very basic one, and I'm going to challenge everyone, not just for anxiety, but for anything you might be struggling with, to learn how to control your mind instead of have your mind control you, is to be aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling emotionally, and what you're feeling physically. Okay, did I say it enough times now that I'm going to keep beating it in? I have to beat it into my own head every day. So, I wish you all a soul-inspired weekend. And again, I want to thank the few followers that I have reaching out and letting me know that the videos are helpful. And feel free to write in the comments section any subjects you might want covered. I will try to cover them when I get time. And hopefully everybody has a wonderful and soul-inspired weekend.